first of all, we are going to talking about the basic data types in that, right? So remember, I divided this into different sections, this course into different sections, right? The fundamentals, function mastery, and object-oriented programming. So under the fundamentals, we are going to be looking at the type systems and variables. And first of all, we are going to go into the data types. So you can see I said here that offers all these different data types, right? The int, the double, the string, bool, and dynamic types for storing different kinds of data values in applications. So we are going to be looking at all of these different types, right? Now, you know the meaning of type, right? In English language, when you say a type of something, types of animals, wild animals, domestic animals, right? Types of, what again? Types of races, right? You have the African race, the black race, that's the African race, and you have the Asian race, the European race, and so on and so forth. These are just describing different types of the same thing, right? So in the same way, the example I gave earlier, I described different types of people. May not be a good enough example, but it's just to give you an idea of what types mean, types of data, right? So data has different types in the same way. We have int. Int is it refers to integers, okay? And that's the short form, int, right? And then we also have double, right? And string, boolean, and dynamic types. So let's just jump right into it. Now I told you about Visual Studio Code and IDE I use, right? You can install your own if you prefer a different type of IDE, a different IDE, but personally I use Visual Studio Code, and I recommend you also use that. So I'm going to create a file. If you come up here, you see this tab called file, right? I'm just going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this types.dat, right? So this is going to be the name of my file, and I'll click on enter. Now I'm going to have to choose a location where I want this file to be stored, right? So in my computer, I have all these different file locations, right? So I want to store it in desktop, and then in my desktop, I have this folder I created called dat files, right? So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to click on create file. Now, what I have right here is my dat file, right? I've created a file, a dat file, and inside this file, I'm going to write my code. Okay, so different languages, and you can create files for different languages if you want to. Like for Python, you can create, a Python file. All you just have to do is to write the name of the file. Whatever you want to name the file is up to you, right? The name of my file is types, right? And then you do dot and attach an extension. For Python is .py, right? But for that, it's just simple .dat. For JavaScript, it's .js. If I want this to be a JavaScript file, I'll just say types.js, right? So that's it. Now, I'm in my dat file, and I need an entry point. Okay, I need an entry point. An entry point is like just as the name describes, it's like a door, right? Through which the compiler can have access to your code and execute it, right? So this is my entry point. It's called the main function, all right? The main function. So without this main function, I cannot execute my code. Okay. So every function has an entry point, and for that, this is the entry point. So we spoke of all the different data types. Not all of them though, but the ones that are listed here, these are the main ones, the main data types that we have. Okay, we are always going to work with this every time. So I'm going to bring up my IDE. So I listed them out. I said that they are ints or integers, right? And we have double, we have string, we have bool, and dynamic types. So let's look at them. Int refers to numbers. In fact, int and double, they both refer to numbers, right? But the difference between int and double is that int referred to whole numbers, while double referred to fractions or decimal numbers, right? So I'm going to give a simple illustration. Let's say I want to declare my age in a variable, right? So I'm going to say int age equal to 8, right? So this is just an example of an integer. Alright, this is the type, which is what you have here, int, alright, or integer. The short form is int. And then you have the name of your variable. Whatever name you want to give your variable is up to you. Okay, and then we have this equal to, equal sign, and then this is the value that we are giving to and then this is the value that we are giving to our variable. It's a whole number, as you can see. We also have double, and double could be something like weight, right? And let's say I weigh 65.8 kilograms. So I have declared another variable. Now these two things are called variables, right? This is a variable declaration, int age equal to 8, and these two, double weight equal to 65.8. So these two are variable declarations. Now I am declaring them using data types, right? The name of my variable and the value, right? Because we are looking at data types and variables in this lesson, right? So these two variables come under numbers, also denoted as num, right? So these two come under numbers. Yeah, so you have two types of numbers basically, the integers and the double. Now we also have string data type. And string, what is a string? A string is simply a collection of characters, all right, enclosed in curly brackets. So any collection of characters enclosed in quotes, in quotation marks, like this. You know what a quotation mark is, right? So any collection of characters enclosed in quotation mark is a string. So let's say I want to declare my name as a variable. So this is my name, right? So these are 5 letters, EBUKA, enclosed in quotes, quotation marks, as you can see here. All right, so these are, like just as I said earlier, a string is a collection of characters, not a collection of letters. All right, so any character at all can go into this string. You see, so that's what it is, a collection of characters. And then we have booleans, denoted as bool, B-O-O-L, right? And this particular variable simply refers to true or false values, right? So a true or false value could be something like it's raining, okay? And if it is actually raining, I can say true. I can assign the value true to this variable, is raining, right? So this is the type, okay? This is the name of my variable, and this is the value. Let me declare another boolean is sunny, and I'm going to initialize it to false. Right. So this is another boolean. So this is another boolean that I have declared. All right. And then we have dynamic types. So I'm just going to declare this variable called value. So I'm just going to declare this variable called value. Okay, and I'm going to give it a dynamic type. So what does dynamic mean? We have looked at int, we have looked at age. Sorry, we have looked at int, we have looked at double, string, and boolean, right? So we know all the different data that can be stored in this variable. In the case of age, we can store any number, any whole number at all, right? And not just positive numbers, we can also store negative whole numbers in integers. All right, so the same thing goes for double. We can store fractions or decimals in them. String is a collection of characters enclosed in quotation marks, and not only can we enclose strings in single quotes, because I use single quotation marks here, if you notice. Okay, we can use double quotes too to enclose string. Alright, so I'm just going to do that. Right, so these are double quotes and these are single quotes. You can use any of them for your strings. And then we have boolean. Boolean simply refers to true or false value, right? So whenever I create a boolean variable, I'm going to store either a true value or a false value in them. But what about dynamic? What does dynamic store? Dynamic can store any of these. Alright, so dynamic can store a number or a string or a boolean. As the name implies, this variable is dynamic. It doesn't have any specific type. As the name implies, this variable is dynamic. It doesn't have any specific type. Right? So we cannot do this. We cannot do the same thing. We cannot do the same with any of these previously declared variables, right? I cannot change this to 10.4, for example, whereas I've specified that this variable is an integer. Age is an integer, all right? I cannot now come and change this to something that should be a double, a value that is a double. Actually, I cannot. All right. So if I hover on this, you can see I'm having an error in my code. It says a value of type double can't be assigned to a variable of type int. So it's just saying that this variable is an integer, and I'm trying to assign a value that is of the type double to it. So that cannot work. All right. So same thing goes here. I cannot assign true to this string because true is not a string. All right. True is a boolean. I hope you understand this. So that's why we are talking about types. All right, type systems in that, because every data has a type. Right, but with a dynamic variable, it's dynamic because you can store any type in it. All right, so that's it. We have declared some variables. We have declared an integer, we have declared a double, we have declared a string, we have declared two booleans and a dynamic. I want to also briefly introduce another data type called list. Okay, so list is simply a collection of data. All right. So in this list, I can have different values. Okay, I can have different values in a list. Okay, and as you can see, I have enclosed all of this in brackets, in square brackets. Okay, so a list is simply a collection of items enclosed in square brackets. All right, so this is another data type that we have. I just wanted to briefly introduce it to you, even though we are going to talk about lists and other collections in details. All right, so I'm going to stop here, and we are going to talk more on this in the next class. We have looked at data types, the basic data types. We have already declared variables, right? So I'm going to teach you guys variable declaration in detail. All right, we have already started looking at it, but we are going to go into more detail in the next class. So thank you very much, and